So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hacking Your Neighbours and Other Life Skills. So I did start this talk and say that, yeah, Bart the Smet is on. You can actually go see someone smart, but if you want to see someone lunatic Irish person, I'm here. This is a talk born out of frustration, because I did and I do have a neighbour who parties a lot. And I am specifically at 3 o'clock in the morning playing Gnarls Barkley Crazy on repeat. Now, if you've ever heard Gnarls Barkley at 3 o'clock in the morning Crazy on repeat, you generally start going like The Shining. You're going to go up, you're going to knock down the door, and you're going to go, turn it off, in the politest sense possible. Now, so this was born out of how I do crazy kind of like hacking stuff, but it really does turn you into kind of fixing bad neighbors and turns you into a bad neighbor. So before we start, I'll introduce myself. My name is Niall. I am a managing consultant today with Capgemini based in Stavanger in Norway. If you're wondering why I'm not talking very Norwegian, it's because I'm Irish. If you're wondering why I'm funny, it's because I'm sober. Yay, they get the jokes. I'm an MVP most of the time. I work in DevSec. I am an Azure advisor, ASP insider. All cool titles mean nothing. But if you want to tweet me at Niall Merrigan. It's pretty awesome because I do like getting tweets, waking me up in the middle of the night and my wife giving out, why is someone, a little bird, talking to you? And you can email me at niall.merrigan@capgemini.com. Now, this is a talk where I'm going to show you how to use very offensive tools. As in, all of these tools are hacking tools. These are not like your typical click, play, try, next, install. This is all on Linux. This is all running in command line. We do have some UI stuff, but it is mainly command line. And I'm going to show you all the different tools that you can use on a day-to-day basis to make your life easier and annoy your friends. And steal passwords. And potentially rob a bank. You're all laughing now, but at about minute 40, I'm going to show you how to rob a bank. Now, the thing is, someone once asked me, says, like, why on earth are you going to a dev conference and are you going to show people how to break systems? I'm like, reasons. They invited me down to Amsterdam. Who was I to say no? So I said, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what tools hackers will use against you and your systems to break into your systems. So I have a very big policy of kind of, you can only fight the way you practice. So my kids, I have two of them. I have one, she is 18 months. She's as mad as a box of frogs. And the other one is 5 years. And I don't think he knows what the word fear is. He's a typical boy, I'll try it. And if I get hurt, it probably wasn't the right thing to do. So, I'm looking at him going, you're nuts. And he goes, well, Papa, I will never know how to do it unless I do it. And I was like, Jesus, 5 years old and more philosophical than I have ever been in my drunkest days. And I'm thinking, okay, fair play, you're actually correct. This is written by a guy called Miyamoto Masashi. He's from the 16th century Bushido warrior, wrote a treatise called The Five Rings, which is on how to do like knife skills and fighting. And one of the things, as he says, you can only fight the way you practice. If you don't fight hard, if you don't practice hard, you won't fight hard. If you don't get hit when you're boxing, you won't get hit. Well, you probably will get hit a lot when you're in the match or in the fight. But it is very much that. We do have to learn very offensive tooling and very offensive techniques to learn what people are going to use against us. Now, I'm going to show you this morning a lot of things about strategy. As in reconnaissance, exploitation, understanding how to find information on the internet that will show you where there's a problem, understanding how to look for issues and where you should go finding this information. Now, before we start, all jokes aside, don't do this on any system you don't own. Don't do this in public. Do this at home. Seriously, this will probably get you arrested. Some of the stuff in this is not exactly legit, in the format that some people get a little bit annoyed when you steal their passwords. They get a bit annoyed when you potentially show up how bad a programmer they are, or how their security is really, really, really bad. So please don't do this don't go into an internet cafe and decide to SQLi and download an entire database from somebody, okay? If you're going to do that, make sure you do a couple of things. One, check where all the cameras are, all right? No, I'm serious. Check where all the cameras are. Make sure you're doing this. Put on a black hoodie. They'll know you're a hacker then, all right? And then just go up to Hacker Typer. If you ever played with Hacker Typer, it's fantastic. You know what? That's the best thing to freak someone out on an airplane, by the way. Download a copy of Hacker Typer. If you've never seen it before, go to hackertyper.net. It literally, you just mash the keyboard and it starts saying things. And then when you press, I think when you press enter or home, it goes password or access granted in big red letters. Do that beside someone on an aircraft. It freaks them out. Cool! I just got into the navigation system. And if you time it right, the pilot banks. And you're like, and you watch the person like, ah! So don't do that. But the first tool we're going to look at today is Kali Linux. Kali is a Debian distro built from the ground up to scare the living Jesus out of you. It is every single hacking tool that you can ever imagine is built into this thing by default. It comes now with a full-on repro. It does things. You can build it in the cloud as well. It's deployable on Azure as a VM, so that's pretty cool. Tools I'm going to show you today include Nmap, Metasploit, and Beef. Nmap is a network mapper. It's a scanner. It's just a lot more advanced version of Ping. But what you can do with it is absolutely phenomenal. You can find everything about the network that you're on. So if you're ever at a hotel, fire up Nmap. See what other people are on the network with you. See what other people are causing you not to be able to watch Netflix. Every so often, you will find a BPOS system. That's a business point of sale system on the network. And that's usually where you go, excellent. Because there's not, like, okay, so SAP just released a really big problem. They have, if you're on the same network as one of their BPOS systems, you can adjust an XML file unauthenticated. There's no authentication required. You can adjust an XML file and give yourself your discount. So you see that Acer computer over there that's $2,000? It's now $2,000. Seriously, and it does it. It won't validate it, just goes, okay. You know, because people expect BPOS systems to be isolated off in their own network. When they're not, there's a little issue. So, again, serious point, don't do this at home, please, because you will get in trouble. A lot of these stuff now I've recorded as videos because I really don't trust the demo rig for this because it just gets a bit freaky. But first we're going to do is recon. And to do that, I am going to go on the internet, and hopefully I'll find it here. If this is coming up in the right place, it's not. Let's see where we're going. Come on, kids. What are you laughing about? Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. So this is the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures Database, the CVEDB. Now, what this is when any product has been found to have a bug in it, and it's considered a significant severity of, like, you know, there's an issue with it, you get a thing called a CVE. It's a CVE number. If you go to the current CVE database, it's ordered by year and then a 4-digit number. It's like 2017 and dash. You can see here, for example, CVE 2003-135 and continuing all the way up. You'll see the one at the top. It says CVE 2017-8218. Now, this is relatively new, but if you go in, you'll see that Flash accounts for 50% of nearly all the bugs in the CVE database. I kid you not. And I was, as a person, when they said, Adobe, we're retiring Flash. A lot of people went, every web developer went, yay! Every security developer went, oh, nuts. You know, because that is our really good one here. So you can see here on the top, it says VSFTPD on TP-Link C2 and C20i devices, blah, 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 have a backdoor admin account with the password, with the 1234 password, a backdoor guest account with the guest password, and a backdoor test account with the test password. Okay? Yes, ow. If you have a TP-Link in one of these, let me know now. No? You have the firmware on it? Oh, you've got a different firmware on your TP-Link. Which one do you have? Oh, you smart man. Because every time I hear someone doing DDWRT, I just think you don't really care about life. Because you're spending all your time trying to fix your router. It's like, honey, the internet's not working. I'm on it. I bought a Ubiquity network for a reason. It was my wife's problem. She went, the network's not working. That means it was transferred to me. Which means I went, I'm fixing this. And it went Thor's hammer, and it's now we have a network that's battle-proof. It's fantastic. So if you go on here and you see what this CVE link is, when I can't, oh geez, where's my mouse? Control tab, will that work? Yay! So this gives you some information about the VSFTPD backdoor, which says you do this, and you can go then to NIST, which says, here is the content description. You can see that it says CVSS severity, version 3. The score is 9.8, meaning critical. Okay, this is out of 10, by the way, kids. Like the SMBV1 Petya thing was a 10. WannaCry was kind of a 10. This is a 9.8. It's not full kind of Fukushima, it's nearly Chernobyl, it's fairly severe. And you can then go find more information about it, how they scored it. It says the attack vector was network. It has a low complexity, i.e. everybody can do it. It requires no privileges and no user interaction. You're screwed if they find out. So this is a very, very bad bug because, like, okay, how many of us as devs have put in backdoor / test accounts, passwords and stuff and left it out on the wild? No one's willing to admit it. How does he know? So you can use this to go find things. If you want to go find these particular bugs, we go finding a thing called Showdown, right? Showdown is a search engine for the Internet of Things. I love this software because it allows you to find everything on the internet. It allows you to find, for example, internet-connected fridges, toilets, BPOS systems, phones, anything. So there is a tab. Let's see. Let's do this, and we'll do a. There we go. If we do images.showdown.showdown.io. Hopefully this works, right? These are RDP connections they've found, right? Okay, so do you want to see fun things? We'll do port 5900. Anyone know what port 5900 is? VNC, I heard VNC. Correct. VNC is the old version of RDP. It was the one that wasn't baked into Windows. When we go looking for this, this will show me unauthenticated or not requiring authentication VNC connections. So here, as you can see, are VNC things that you can connect to without a username and password. Okay? If we go down, and hopefully we find something interesting. Ooh, beer. Seriously, oh, I love this host. This is in Boston, or Chicago, sorry. And it's a beer company. So I'm assuming all Dutch people would love this. So you go in, the current water level is 73 inches. We have about this much, the colors and the pump speed. You can have a bit of fun with this. Please don't connect to this without using a VPN. Tor, whatever you want to do. Seriously, don't connect to it. You'll piss off a load of Americans and they'll get a bit upset. And they have a Cheeto for a president. Can we edit that bit back out just so I get thanks? Okay, right. Okay, so let's have a look at doing this on screen. So what we're going to use here now is to do Wi-Fi hacking. So what I'm going to show you to do here's how to scan for a whole load of Wi-Fi networks. So what we're going to do first is check out if.iwconfig. This is using a particular command you could call airmon to start this and put it into monitor mode. Monitor mode means I passively listen instead of actively connecting. I listen for all network traffic around. So if I do a thing called aerodump ng and I select W0 LAN and mon, it'll show me, as you can see, my home network is called Celia, it's named my wife, and I have a Celia guest. And this is what starts what it connects, and then my neighbor upstairs, and then there's two neighbors next door, and I can see what channel they're running on. I can see they have WPA2 encryption. I can see how strong it is. I can also see down here in the station in BSSID that I've got a particular device trying to connect to ARL's WLAN, all right? Now the thing is, it doesn't really tell you a lot because right now I can find out what type of networks are running. I can see what's going on. If I add TAC WPS and TAC manufacturer, I can get whether they're using WPA setup or they are using what type of manufacturer of device they're using. Now you can see here I'm using Ubiquiti networks for my home networks. Eventually you'll find they'll show you an Apple device that'll kick up. The reason you want to know this is if you want to target these devices and steal passwords from them, what you would do is the following. You would first do a denial of service, all right? That's a disconnect packet to the router and say, disconnect this device. You would then set up your own network that looks exactly the same as it, same name. That does, how hard is it to name your network the exact same? Very hard. You go in, you press enter, you reboot, it works. Right? Then what you'll do is you will put up a landing page that says, hi, we need to upgrade the firmware of your router. Please put in your WPA password to allow to get this running. And you will also need to put in the admin username and password to make sure it works. People will go, okay, press enter. You reboot, you kick off their network, you get them back onto their network, and ta-da, you have now stolen the WPA handshake key, and you've also got the username and password for their admin portal. Now, that is how simple it is to do. If you're wondering how difficult it is for me to set up a Wi-Fi spoofing, probably open your Wi-Fi connection right now. You might see on average about 2,000 different Wi-Fi points right now in this room, because I have got two very interesting little devices. One of them is called a Wi-Fi Pineapple Nano, which is this little thing. So I walked from the Holiday Inn over here. I caught about 50 to 75 people. They all connected to me, and I was man in the middle of them. I connected about 500 new Dutch SSIDs to broadcast. If you find the poop emoji, you can blame the guys over at JetBrains, because they did that. This literally answers any type of SSID name you ask it for, and it says, I'm that, and it connects to it. Which means that no matter what you try and connect to, it's probably me. If it's open, it's me. I have the number of people, like, funny story. So we have a thing in Ireland, or sorry, in Norway, in Oslo, it's called the Flytog, it's take two, airport train. And what you do is I had this device, I was going to NDC, plugged this in, I was walking to the train. And there's this gentleman in a suit with his partner. And he rocks up and he gets on his phone, and he goes, on the train you have free Wi-Fi. And he goes, it's my home network. I'm like, oh shit. and then all the networks disappear, and he goes, oh, there it is. Dink. And I'm thinking, are you nuts? If I see like 1,000 networks being broadcast, it's something like, okay, KLM in-flight Wi-Fi when I'm on a train, or like, oh look, Starbucks Sydney, Australia when I'm in Norway, somebody's doing something dicky. Now, another thing is, I caught my sister-in-law with this. She came over to visit, and Instagram had a bad bug. They had one of their session cookies, their authorization cookie, sent over HTTP, and this thing was intercepting. So she connected to me and connected to the local train Wi-Fi, and then all of a sudden, this cookie pops over onto my machine and goes, this could be interesting. And I went, okay. And I looked at it and it goes, it's the Instagram authorization cookie with her current session ID. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I recreate that in my browser, and I log in as her, and then I just change one of her things, and then I wait for it. Now, at this point, my living room is over there somewhere, and my office is here, and the front door is just here. So I'm like this. Niall, yeah? Did you do something to your sister's Instagram? No. Sprint time, kids. Yeah, so that's what you do. That's how you break things. Now, if you want to use Nmap, Nmap is pretty awkward, but we can use a thing called ZenMap here. And ZenMap allows me to go scan a whole network. This is going to show you how to do a quick scan of a network block. Normally this takes about 1.5 minutes, but because it's using the magic of video editing, I've managed to remove most of that. So what I'm going to show you here is what happens when you scan a local network. This is my test network with Akali and my Metasploitable boxes and Windows boxes on it. And what we do here is I show you that I can find 6 different hosts. I can also then, if I click on them, find out what they're running. But if I go to the host details, it'll show me what OS it is. Now, I love the fact that the Windows has got a little, it's Windows and it's kind of open, it's kind of funky there. But the box down the bottom means it's probably not crackable. But if I go to 128, which is my Linux Metasploitable box, it has a bomb, meaning this thing can literally blow up. It is so hackable, it's ridiculous. So you'll see here all the different services it's running. Now, 2 things I need you to remember. VSFTPD 2.3.4 and the IP address 128, okay? Mainly because VSFTPD 2.3.4, if you were to go to the CVE database, you would find out there was a backdoor Trojan added to that for 3 days. And that means it's a vulnerable piece of server or software. So we're going to hack that by doing some little bit of exploitation. I'm going to show you how to use Metasploit now, and how we would remotely hack a web app, a server where we have found it. Now, we all know there's servers on the internet that have software running, right? They're connected like site web servers. If you use something like Showdown, you can go looking for IIS-6 boxes. What does IIS-6 run on? Don't all answer at once, kids, come on. 2003, give that man a biscuit. 2003, what's the problem with 2003 right now? Very much not supported. You're an IT pro, right? Yeah, you're the only system administrator surrounded by developers. Get him! He's like against DevOps. But yes, exactly. It's not supported means it's end of life, means security patches might be a bit ropey, meaning that someone has left this on the internet to die. Now, we're going to kill it and eat it alive, because, if you're vegan, my bad. Now, what we're going to do here is use Metasploit. Metasploit is a tool which is effectively like the Swiss Army knife of penetration testing tools. It comes with a lot of vulnerabilities that have been weaponized. So it allows you to, it knows how to attack. So instead of having to write like shellcode or Python or any other thing, you literally send a command to a server with the exploit and it figures out what to do. It does all the code for you. So what I'm going to do here is start up MSF console, and that's how you start up Metasploit on Kali. This is built in, the free version is built into Kali right now. It takes a little bit of time, so it can be a little awkward. I do this always, I just try and get the cow banner. So you just type in banner, and you wait for a bit, there we go, and I get the cow. And I like the cow, because I'm Irish, and we like animals to eat them. So when you do help, you can find like DB Connect. This allows you to map it into Nmap if you wanted to. So if you're using Nmap, you can find things. I'm going to do a thing called use exploit, Unix, FTP, and VSFTPD 234 backdoor, all right? Now, if I do some info on this, it'll tell me that it was a download archive. This backdoor was introduced in 2.3.4 between June 30th and July 1st, 2011, according to most recent information available. This backdoor was removed on July 3rd. So it's like it really only had about 3 days. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the remote host. The host we want to attack, which remember was 128 or 192.168.221.128. After a while, you get very good with IP addresses. So, and then we do the very difficult exploit. Seriously, I now have root. Everyone know what root is? God, good. So I'm going to show that by doing who am I, because I don't know who I am. I'm root. I am Groot. I just got that. So uname-a tells me I'm on a Linux Metasploitable box running 2.6.24. This box is purposely built to be exploitable. You can download it. It's a 2 gig file. Never, for the love of God, put this on the internet. It literally, you'll watch hackers swarming around it like honey. It's mental. So that is how difficult it is to own a box. I did set or host IP address. So I scanned, I found a vulnerable thing, I knew the CV was there, I checked Metasploit to find out if it was there. Now this assumes a couple of things. 1, you know how to use CV. 2, you know how to use Nmap. 3, you know how to look for vulnerabilities and recognize them. So wouldn't it be better if this was a little bit easier? Yay, it is! We use Armitage! Armitage is a GUI version of all this. So what I'm going to do here now is do a range to scan. Remember I did 192.168.221.0/24. So I'm getting rid of all the blocks, okay? Right? I click OK. I use the magic of the internet. I wait a second. Scan complete. It tells me all the boxes that are on there and tells me what they are, right? Now, if I go up to 128, which I know is my Metasploitable box, come on, hand, move. There we go. Close. Oh, right. Up, up, up. There you go, Niall. Well done. And I go try and do scan. It'll tell me what the information is run. But there's a thing called attacks and called find attacks. Because, internet. So at this point, I'm putting up my hoodie. Done. It says now happy hunting. Right click. Attacks. FTP. VSFTP backdoor. Boom. It fills in everything. Launch. Now we're getting this, but what's cool about this is the little red lightning animation. Because when you pwn a box, you should get a reward. Lightning. Yay! So now I can interact with this. I can do who am I? I'm Root. Again, not Groot, Root. And then I do uname-a and I find this in. Remember, this is literally like, so of course, I definitely show you the hard way first. Because if I showed you the easy way first, you wouldn't be as impressed when I did this. This is like what happened when our pictures drive failed at home. So what happened was, I come in, I'm all sullen, I'm into my wife, and I'm like, oh, geez. And she's like, what's wrong? I said, our pictures disk, it died. She's like, you mean all the photos of the kids are gone? I'm like, yeah. Niall, what are we going to do? I said, it's okay, it's downloading a backup from the cloud, I have a new disk in. Why did you say that? Because I wanted to show you how awesome I am. Never let an opportunity like that go. You get a certain amount of husband points to buy stupid stuff. Remember that time I got all our kids' pictures back? Yeah, that's why I bought this. Life lessons. I told you there'd be life skills in this. Right. Now we're going to do beef. Because now, this is a 48-ounce steak, by the way. That is a pretty epic steak. This is what my mum brought me up from Ireland. Because she went to the local butcher and he says, seriously, is it for one person? I went, yeah. And he goes, really? And I said, yes. 48 ounces? Yes. That's 1.3 kilos in real money. And and then he goes, why? I said, have you ever tried to grill a thin steak? It gets really dry very quickly, so I want this. So anyway, right. This is Beef. So to log it, Beef is a web application. It's a social engineering tool. And what we're going to do is log into Beef and Beef. Now, there's a whole fun lot of stuff in this because it's going to be quite interesting. So what we're going to do here is we're going to log into Beef. And you can see very straight away, there's very little to do. There's no online browsers. I haven't hooked any browsers. To hook a browser, all I have to inject is a hook.js file. Now, you can do this through XSS. You can do this through having a website that's designed to do this. So I go onto my Windows machine. And I go to my website, which has a hook, and I get my butcher's website because beef, butcher, butcher, beef. Now, when I go back to Beef, you'll see all of a sudden the little guy down the bottom will disappear and he'll go up into the online browsers business, which means that now I've used a lure and I have caught something. That's how you do fishing. So I've now got a person to play with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what type of information I get from them. So I can see here, if up on the top, they're running IE11. They're running on Windows 10. They have an ENGB, they have Shockwave Flash, and they have this. All this information is what I'm getting from that browser hook. That's the interrogation. So I can send a certain number of commands to SED, and the first one I'm going to do is Clippy, because who doesn't love Clippy, right? And what I'm going to say is, your browser appears to be out of date. Would you like to upgrade it? How many people do you think would fall for this? You're all going, yep. If you saw Clippy, would you click on it? Die with fire, you little something. So there's Clippy. Yay! Look, he's there. Sorry. Clippy turned off. We brought Clippy into a Microsoft event. And he's a hacker. Would you like to update your browser? It installs Chrome. So what we're going to do now is going to steal some Facebook credentials because it's kind of fun. Because this is pretty cool. Because if you inject something like this where they have Facebook Connect or Facebook buttons, and I just click Send Facebook, and it pops up this. Isn't that pretty epic? You just go, no, like this is no programming involved. This is like social engineering 101. And I can put in a username and password here, and then do stuff with it. And you'll see here is Niall's password. I log back in. Oh, this is telling me I have 15 minutes left. Brilliant. You go in here, and if I go up into the command, I'll be able to see the information that they sent me. So that's how I get their Facebook login. Now, how many of you use the same username and password for everything? Yeah, you're honest. There are a lot of people do. How many people don't have 2FA installed on Facebook? 2FA, two-factor authentication, sorry. How many people don't have it installed on Facebook? What? It's an authentication provider. Please install it, otherwise I steal it. And if you come see my social engineering talk later on, I'll show you how. See, you didn't know there'd be advertising in this, did you? So here I've just done a fake notification bar for IE. You know that little thing that pops down underneath and says, you must install something? So I'm going to say this website requires the following Java applet written by Microsoft. And you can guarantee someone will click on it. This takes a little bit longer because I don't know why I didn't do the video editing correctly for this one. It was late at night, I had a glass of wine, it wasn't easy. Oh, come on. There it is, up the top. It's less than impressive, but it's nice that you can do this still, And then I could insert a bad jar, or I could put in a file dropper or whatever. So the last one I think I'm going to do here is, I think I'm going to do Google phishing. I'm going to show you how I can steal Google Mail credentials. So what is happening now is after a second, it'll swap over to the Gmail login. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. So look, this is what I made appear. So if I type, now this is the old Gmail login, but a lot of people wouldn't even click this, okay? So I just did click sign in, and it redirected me to the Gmail account page, meaning that we looked like we did something wrong. But it's okay. I've just given my credentials to someone else. That is how easy. Now, if this is two things you would do with this. One, you would do something like what we call tab napping. So if a page was loaded and you find out if the tab wasn't active, you'd set that up, right? And you just like flick it back over so they wouldn't spot it that the person was not on the page. You flick over, because if you were on a website and it all of a sudden flicked to Gmail login, would you think something was up? Now, if you're a bit asleep and you're a bit early in the morning, this is probably something you go, oh, Gmail, fine. Now, I would notice something was wrong with this because I use LastPass. And LastPass, if it doesn't light up on a website, it means it doesn't recognize the website as being the correct one. Now, people nodding all have LastPass, I assume, right? Yeah. So it's one of the few little security techniques I have. If you've got a password manager, use it. I use LastPass personally, but like OnePass, KeePass, Dashlane, all these are very, very good. Do not remember any of your passwords. Literally, do not. Don't bother. Use complex passwords, but put them in a KeePass vault or whatever. Just don't bother trying to do any of this type of stuff. Right, that is Beef. Beef is exceptionally simple to work with. You just have to install a piece of JavaScript and off you go. I have a website called mysecdemo.com that is linked up to Beef and allows me to do things. Myself and Troy Hunt managed to tweet this out, get about 250 people on the screen. It was like literally we were spotting every single OS we could find and then trying to play with it. And it is a very, very interesting system to play with. It is open source, freeware. If you try to install it on Windows, it gives out hell. Because Windows Defender goes, there's something wrong with this website. No shit. Right, now we're going to do Venom. Everyone know who Venom is? Yeah, no one knows. So if you don't know who Venom was, Venom is Spider-Man's nemesis, aka is it Eddie Brock in certain incantations? But it's a symbiote. So what it does is it copies itself onto someone and hides in plain sight, okay? So what we're going to do is create a virus and a backdoor that allows us to connect to machines remotely and have a bit of fun with them. So to do that, we can infect specific machines or specific EXEs using a piece of software called MSF Venom, Metasploit Venom. What this does, it'll inject some shell code into the kind of the hidden parts or the open parts of the application, and then when you run the app, it runs a backdoor or Trojan. Now, there's another variation of it called Shelter. Shelter is written to run on Windows, and what it does, it looks at the kind of white space parts of your application and injects the code there so the MD5 hash doesn't change. It's really, it's sneaky as hell. It's absolutely epic. So to do this, we run a command first we have to run a handler. Now I have a handler set up so that every time someone dials back to me, I can send information to them. So we're going to do what's known as a reverse TCP, i.e. ET phone home. So what will happen is, I will now, anytime this program is run, it will connect back to me and I'll be able to interact with it. So to infect a particular EXE, we run a thing called MSF Venom. We tell it the payload we want, which is -p, using Windows Meterpreter, which is the shell we are interacting with, okay? And then we tell it reverse TCP. Now the reason I'm very slow typing this is it doesn't support tab completion, and when you're used to using like autocomplete, it becomes really hard to type more than 3 characters. So you set the L host, which is your host, as in where I've got to connect back to, which is 192.168.221.129. I set the port, which in this case is the default port 4444, and then I tell it what file type to use, exe, and then I say pipe that all out to plink.exe. And then I could deliver this file, which will take about a couple of seconds to build. I could deliver this file using Beef. For example, do you want to upgrade your browser? Do you want to install this plugin? Please download this plugin to run our website, okay? New Flash plugin. So person has now double-clicked plink.exe, all right? At this point, they have now been infected, and my application my handler is now receiving commands back and saying, I will now send a stage to you. So this sends the remote code back to the handler, to the staging area, and says, run this in memory. Okay? So now I have got a session back to my Windows box. I'm effectively running on the Windows machine as that user. So when I do sessions, I can see I'm connected to desktop, blah, 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 as Niall. If I do sessions -i3, which is the one I'm connecting to, I now have a shell. So I've got sysinfo. I'm running as this with Windows 10, x64, workgroup number 2. But Wouldn't it be fun to be able to see what the user is doing? So we're going to load a program called ESPA. ESPA. I have no idea what it means. But it has, if you click help, it has a thing down the bottom that says screen grab. Attempts to grab the screenshot from the process's active desktop. Cool. Screen grab. This is what the user is looking at. I can take over webcams this way. Not a good thing. I can interact with your desktop. I can copy the clipboard. I can copy your inserted keylogger. But this one is kind of, it's just interaction. But wouldn't it be nice to have permanent remote access? So I'm going to load a thing called incognito. And when I do this, it gets the commands down here. I can add a group user, add a local group user, add a user impersonate, and do this. So we're going to add a new user to Windows. So when I bring up the user's profiles and I try and look at the current ones, I've only got one. Okay? I've got Niall Demo. That's it. All right? NiallSecDemo@outlook.com. That's the only person on this machine. We'll leave this screen up. And what I'm going to do here is do a first thing called get system. I'm going to elevate myself to administrator. Done. And then I'm going to do add user. I'm going to put in TechDays NL with a password 1234 exclamation mark, because passwords are hard. I'm combining two passwords and an exclamation mark. It must be good. Now, I've added the user, but the problem is the user needs permissions. So I'm going to add a user to the administrator groups because we like being administrators. All right? And we're going to put in TechDays NL. We press return. Added local user to local group. We go back. I close out because we have to refresh. And I wanted to prove this. Boom. I is admin. That usually gets a round of applause, kids. That's how you ask, this is social engineering. Give me a round of applause. Okay, charity clap. So that is how you get remote administrator access on a machine by someone clicking a wrong file. And it is very quick. You can even script that if you wanted to. So it would be done in very, very quick time. The thing is that this type of stuff is very, very easy to do. You can see like the tooling and all we have here is very simple. It makes it very easy for us to do bad things. Now, I did point out at the start, wouldn't it be fun if we would go rob a bank? At this point, you all say yes. Thank you. What is the Dutch version of yes? Yeah. It's the same as Norwegian. Yeah. Say it with enthusiasm. Yes. Right. We are going to rob a bank because, there's nothing like a big-ass demo at the end to make you all go, Jesus, I don't want him near my house. There's a person trying to ring me, and I'd love to answer this. There's a person trying to ring me in the middle of my talk. I'd love to just do FaceTime and go, hello. Message. And I was like, in a conference. Can I call you later? There we go. Wouldn't that be funny in the middle of it? Excuse me, do you mind if I just take this in public on full-on voice level? Anyway, so what we're going to do is rob a bank. Now, to do this, we are going to combine a number of different techniques. One, we are on the same network as somebody. That's the first proviso. So I've either done the man in the middle through my Wi-Fi pineapple, I've managed to get onto your network through to different Wi-Fi attacks, or I've managed to just literally, as I have done before, turn up at a client, plug in my network cable. All right? Because most people go, he looks safe, he's Irish. No Irish people are evil. I'm not doing well for the Irish sales here. Tourism board, everyone's like going to Ireland like this with their hands in their pockets going, I don't trust these little bastards. Anyway, so what we're going to do is rob a bank. So what we're going to do first is we're going to do a thing known as an ARP spoof. So first off, we're going to do an ARP-A. So ARP-A shows you the connection between the IP address and the MAC address, i.e. the visiting address and the postal address. You can see here that the gateway has a MAC address of 6D, ending in 6D, and it has an IP address of 126.2. There's also a machine on there, 134, and that is Kali. So what I'm going to do now is run one of my scripts, which runs in the man-in-the-middle framework. And it has a reverse DNS, it has a HSTS bypass, has a lot of different things running. And what it's going to do is spoof the Windows box and tell it, now instead of going out through the router, you're going out through me. So you can see here the gateway, which it's going out towards, is D4/D2. And my Kali box, which is 134, also goes out through D4-D2. Meaning, the router and the gateway are me. Which means now I am in between your internet access. I'm on the same LAN, but I can do things. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to a Norwegian website called sir.no. It's a Norwegian bank. And this is a Norwegian bank. It's what an internet bank looks like. So this is live internet traffic. In the demo it is, but not now. So what we are doing is we have just adjusted some of the security headers. So when you look up the top, when Drunk Niall figures out how to use magnifier, because believe it or not, when you're going to try and hack a bank, have a few drinks in you, because it really gets over the moral and ethics problems. So here we click up magnifier. Here we go. It takes a lot of time to figure this stuff out. And I go up the top. I'm now running on HTTP www. World Wide Web meet weird World Wide Web. So what I'm going to do here is go to NetBank, and they have this thing called login without bank ID. Bank ID is this thing you have to have two-factor auth, that has to have a little client, but they allow you to use a username and password. Okay? And you can see I'm still over HTTP. What does HTTP mean? Not secure. What does HTTP mean also? Hackable. It means I can sniff all your traffic in plain text. Meaning that if you put in a username and password here, I get it. So I'm going to put in my username and password, which will be, this is Niall's bank ID password, I think. Yay, there we go. And I click continue. That's first, that is Norwegian for continue. And it tells me, you're not a real user, piss off. It could be that, you don't know. It's whoever reads Norwegian here. So I go back into Kali, and I can see here, if I go back up a little bit, the password, this is a bank ID password. I have stolen your banking ID password. Now imagine, I don't know how Dutch banks work. Do they work similar? Do you need two-factor auth, or do you just have a username and password? Two-factor auth, you have username and password. Right. So now we're going to do the same thing with Gmail. Because we all know no one lies to Google. Google is a one account for everything. So this was taken back in January. So I go to Google here. I've done the exact same spoof attack. But in this case, I'm a bit drier, and I go www.google.no, okay? Meaning I'm on plain text. As you can see, it looks like the Google site, because it is the Google site. If I go over to the side here on my very wide screen, come on, it takes a while. You know, you're on the desk going, all right? All right? And I've gone now to accounts, except when I go back up here, accounts. It's on HTTP as well. Meaning if I type in this value, Niall, and Niall's password, we type in a password here, we click sign in, this page doesn't load. Sometimes it loads, sometimes it didn't, because this was this. I can see the password is password1234 from my Gmail account. Now, I am down to 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a whirlwind tour of how to hack different things. There's a whirlwind tour of things you can't take outside this room. Sorry. Please don't do this against people you like. So programmers going, if like, don't do this, if not like. I can do Boolean logic too, kids. Well, the Irish guy said it was okay. I don't like you. I'm sorry. So don't do this at home, or do this at home, do this in a controlled environment, don't do it against websites you don't own, etc. Now, I'll open the floor to questions. This is risky business because I don't know how the Dutch do questions, but we'll be open to questions. Anyone got any questions? Yes?
How did you create the hook to the Explorer?
How did I create the hook to the Explorer? Very good question. That is in part of Beef. They have a URL, which is the website /UI/hook or hook.js. So it's a JavaScript file that's already built. You just need to inject it into a website. In the form of that one, that was a demo website. That was just, it literally is a piece of code. And if you view source code, it says connected to this address. So that's it. It's just a hook.js, that's all. So you don't even have to write any code. You literally have to just inject it somewhere. So if you manage to get into someone's build pipeline, if you manage to get some XSS onto places, or if you're able to do like the man in the middle, you can change the JavaScript. Instead of jQuery, the load hook.js. Good question. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
These are all easy tools to hack people. Are there also easy tools to protect yourself?
Is there easy tools to protect yourself? Yes. A different talk, but no. So the ones to protect protect yourself. Upgrade to Windows 10 full, latest editions, everything. Stop doing the whole thing that patches are bad. A lot of the stuff doesn't work, for example, on newer versions of Chrome. HSTS bypass is very hard, so is a lot of the other ones. ARP spoofing is very easy to detect. A lot of network monitoring traffic does it. If you are worried, if you're on an open network, use a VPN. I personally use Freedom from F-Secure because they're not in one of the Five Eyes countries. If you're ultimately concerned about using or having problems, install Tails. A lot of the attacks and stuff I do rely on people being silly, stupid, unobservant, or not patching up to date everything. So they're not going to catch, in general, a lot of audiences here, but you never know. All I need is one particular lever. I need to get you the right day, the right time when you're asleep, panicking, whatever. And if I get you in the right place, and the social engineering talk talks a lot about that, how I can get you at the right time and even get information off of normally very adept people. But yes, if you want, I'll talk to you afterwards and I'll tell you a lot about that if you prefer. I'll probably blog it. Anyone else? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, 3, 2, 1, class dismissed. Thank you so much. If there is a kind of like feedback form and you thought this talk was awesome, please fill it out. If you didn't like this talk, please tell me.